Well, Happy New Year, everybody. This is my first video that I am recording in 2024, and I have kind of a silly idea for a way to celebrate. I like to do these build challenges where I try to make the cheapest house possible in The Sims 4, like absolute bare minimum. I try not to even pay for walls when possible, and in my various attempts, I've managed to build a handful of houses that are under 2,000 simoleons. They're not necessarily good houses, and they don't really have a lot to offer, but they are technically functional. They've got a full bed, kitchen, and bathroom inside. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can even fit in things like a TV because Eco Lifestyle has some really nice, cheap furniture. There's like a 20 simoleon dumpster TV that works perfectly for this sort of challenge. And the reason that I'm telling you all of this is because I thought it might be interesting to try to build a house in The Sims that costs exactly 2,024 simoleons. So in this case, it's like a double challenge. It has to be a very cheap and fully functional house, but also we have to use every last cent of our budget. For some reason, I decided to playtest with Vlad. Just try not to worry about him. Oh, you're in luck, buddy. It's raining. I'm actually gonna make it sunny though. I'm sorry. I need to see what I am working on, so hopefully I can time this quick enough that he won't die in the sun. Yeah, okay. Just don't unpause again. You stay right there, little guy, okay? So we'll set the budget to 2024 and we'll see if we can build something that's like actually good with that. Usually when I do this, I go straight into debug because there's a couple of things from Eco Lifestyle that are like absolute necessities. Without this 25 simoleon bed, this challenge is impossible. We have to use that one. It doesn't look very good. It's like kind of ripped up. Some of the swatches have like coffee stains on them. It's literally called the Dirty Double. But then there's like this 10 simoleon chair. Even like this giant item, this is a huge bookshelf. It's only 65 simoleons. So by using some of these things, we can kind of make the house look like it's fully furnished when in reality it's gonna have barely anything inside. As far as the budget goes, I'm mostly nervous about using up those last couple of simoleons. Like I picture myself having maybe like 3 simoleons left and then trying to figure out what costs that I can try and fit in somewhere. Here's a question. Platforms are free, right? And this is maybe a mistake, but what if I tried to like build a platform and then use the platform instead of a wall to try and save us some money? This has got to be a mistake. This cannot be a good idea. I'm just trying to throw some concepts out there that might work out for us. I did actually have to spend a little bit more money on walls than I would normally like to by doing it this way. Normally, I would just use these roofs and then drag them up and then use that. This method is probably a bad idea because it makes it kind of glitchy because we have the outdoor lighting inside. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a very obvious little gap right there, and that is the culprit. It actually makes the house look like it's big, when in reality it's like this small inside. This is actually kind of interesting. It's a little bit different than what I've normally been doing when I try to do this challenge. I wonder if we can make that into the bathroom and like try to have it be a little bit separate. Can't intersect obstructions, it says. I don't know what the obstruction is, but whatever. Oh, and the shower doesn't want to place on this because it's not a wall. Oh dear. We're also gonna have to put some sort of like trim in here. I'm thinking that I'm just gonna paint it white. I feel like that's probably our best bet because it's gonna have to be that same color inside too. We also need debug lights very desperately because I cannot afford to pay for real ones. This is what I'm talking about when I say debug ceiling light. I'm so sorry that it's so dark. This is horrible. But these are little ceiling lights in game that, ooh, look at how it lights things up. Oh no, I don't know if we can afford to do this. I don't know if this is gonna work. Maybe I have to do real lights. This is horrible. Going to all of these great lengths just so we don't have to pay for walls is probably not actually worth it now that I think about it. But look, there's even fake windows. This is how you know it's bad. I might be taking this too far right now, but look at this, look at this. From Cottage Living, there's a bunch of fake windows and fake doors. And my theory is that I can try and put these on this little fake wall. Because this way, it's gonna look like I have some nice big window. Oh, that texture is really bad. Well, it looks like I've got a window, even though obviously in reality, I do not. There is definitely not a window right there. And you can tell. You can really, really tell. It's okay. We'll make it look good. Imagine if I get some debug landscaping around it, it's gonna be fine. So obviously these windows don't look into anything. They just kind of like face and show the void, but that's okay. Like that's really all we need out of these. Actually, I could probably put one inside as well. Okay, I hadn't really considered doing that. It looks pretty bad, but at least it looks like we have a window. And then for the door, I'd use a real door, but it would be one that has a window in it. So we have that going for us. Okay, I'll get us a sink. For the kitchen, we're gonna want it to be fully functional. So we're gonna need to have a fridge, which maybe I'll go for the really bad one. I don't really want to because it's definitely not cute, but it might be better. The benefits of this kind of outweigh the cons because that way we at least have like a little bit of extra money to work on some more decor. What if there was a wall like this way? Probably not worth spending money on a wall, huh? Maybe I'll just try and get some sort of fake divider because I'm picturing that I will put the bed here. Oh, it doesn't want to place. Oh no, this is a problem with the platforms, I guess. Well, if we need to, we could always move the platforms. We can just move them till things are placed right and then put them back. Oh, well that's fine. It's actually easier than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so next I'm looking for some sort of item that I can use almost like a wall divider, but it just needs to be free. That's the main thing. I need it to be a free wall divider item. Should I get us a little car? Here's a headstone. That could be a wall divider. It's actually close to being the right size. Like I kid, obviously, but that almost kind of worked. Okay, so this is kind of ugly, but that's interesting. Kind of gives me more of an idea of what I'm looking for because I like the fact that it has some pattern to it. I think pattern is good for this. Oh, you know what we could do? Here's an idea. Maybe kind of a different choice than what I was originally going for, but what if we built a garage? Hate that. Like absolutely despise whatever is going on there. It might be kind of interesting though, right? To have a little garage right there. It does actually kind of help because it gives us some more to look at on the outside. I'm just not really so excited about the like trim that we're getting. You know, I don't think that is very cool. So here's what I'm kind of thinking right now. And I realize this is like not so good. So just hear me out, okay? I'm wondering if we could drag this over so there's like a slight overhang on top of the garage. Somehow we try to make it look like that's on purpose. Of course the lighting is like glitched because why wouldn't it be? It would just be too easy if it weren't. Oh, I fixed it. Okay, not glitching anymore. I did actually use these paintings like a wall divider for next to a bed back in the day. So maybe I could try that again. Oh, I have to move this. Sorry. I need to scoot the bed back a smidge. Okay, try again. You see, like that might actually work. I need to put two of them and like line them up back to back so it's not as bad looking. But at least we have a little bit of separation for the bathroom this way. I'm not really like the most pleased about a lot of this, but this works for now. Oh, here's something kind of interesting that I think looks cool. What if we had like a little fence? I don't really know about it there, but this might be kind of a nice way to like give some more visual interest outside. And it also like miraculously fits really well right there. All of a sudden it kind of is coming together, which is weird. I almost feel a little bit distrusting anytime something goes right. Like when things start going according to plan, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, maybe this is bad. I think that the garage was a bad idea. I liked it in theory. What? Why does it jump so high up? Is it because of the platform? I guess this thing is quite big. That's so weird. This whole game is so weird. Okay, that's maybe the best that we can do for the side yard. I think that looks pretty good. I've gone back to the window concept because I just thought the garage wasn't fitting. It wasn't working. Maybe in a different build if we had more money. But with this particular set of rules, it just wasn't gonna fit. I have a new idea. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but it's an idea. I'm putting these like little pots at the end of the road. Look at this little debug thing. We have to use this. I really like the purple flowers. I don't like that it has a brown box on it. That's not really what I want it to be like. I also kind of wish that this matched better because I feel like all of the colors on the door aren't really that. You know? Okay, I'm just gonna go around and put these on the side windows that I've built. And I put these little guys here on the ends because I was picturing myself putting trees in them, but actually that doesn't look good at all. So maybe never mind on that one. Maybe I take that back actually. Look at this this silly little car. There's so many funny debug things that you just never really notice. I don't really ever use this debug car either, but I like how it's yellow. I'm digging around in debug right now because I'm looking for some wall lights. I'm not really super obsessed with this one. I kind of wish that it was white, but I may just have to make do with what we've got. I was kind of digging through here hoping that I could find something column-like to put on the edges of the wall, but I don't think that anything like that exists, actually. Debug stuff is so weird. I just wanted to have something like the get together column, but you know, debug and cheap. But I guess we aren't gonna be able to do that. That's okay. It's looking all right from the outside. I'm gonna put a big pot by the front door just so we can have some landscaping. I also think that maybe one of these little debug bikes could be kind of cute because that's also free. And then this is not a real trash can. This is a debug free trash can, but I might put that up here too. That's probably so bad of me to do. Like, this is not helpful to anyone who actually wants to play here, but oh, look at this tree. I never used this tree. I'm hoping to find a debug version of this shingled awning, and then I swear I'll stop working on the outside. I put in a little bit more flowers. I've tried to add some more cute stuff, but really what I'm doing right now is just stalling because we do actually need to finish the inside. That was kind of the whole point of this today. We did not set out today to build the exterior of a house. The point was to furnish a house. Oh no, no awning. That is very sad. I really was hoping for one, but it doesn't look like it's gonna happen. I just want something above the door. I'm gonna ignore it. Let's work on the inside, which, you know, there isn't much to see in here on the inside. This is kind of all we've got. Well, for starters, we're gonna want to have a nice little rug. I might use this like sunny yellow one from Nifty Knitting. In the last tiny house that I built, I had us have like basically something along these lines where I put, not this chair because that's too expensive. I think oh, this is only 15. Oh, that's nice. That could be good for like maybe I mean, it's fake, it's a chair, but I could pretend that it's a nightstand. That's actually really good to know that it exists. I think I had used this chair before, which isn't really my vibes. Like, that's not really what I want out of this, but we may have to do it anyway. That chair and then like this little TV, that's probably the cheapest that we can make a little TV room. They'll be able to wash their dishes in the sink. They can cook completely in here. Now it's mostly just down to trying to find some sort of decor. So like this shelf would be nice. I think it would be cool if we had a nightstand, but I don't know if that's gonna work out because they need to get into the bathroom somehow. And also like a proper nightstand would be most ideal because then you can actually set stuff on it. I wish that you could put stuff on this lower shelf because I would put a book there. I might stick them. Can they even get to this though if I put books there? I don't know. We have 94 simoleons left. So as far as like necessities, it would be good if we had a mirror. Problem is, I don't know if they can actually use a mirror that's like raised up and not actually slotted to a wall. I think they can, but I'm not 100% sure if they can. We have 144 simoleons. So the cheapest alternative counter is this one. That's not gonna work. I was gonna see if I could swap it, but no, that's a bad idea. We also can't afford to put flooring everywhere. We have insufficient funds. I can maybe afford to get tile in the bathroom. That is potentially a humongous waste of money, but also sometimes it's good to waste money when you're doing a challenge like this. So let's just pay for it anyway. This is like a poster almost. Like, that's not really the vibes though. I guess we could pretend that it says something silly and cute like live, laugh, love, or I don't know. We can pretend it says something like that. This thing is actually a little bit cheaper, but that's not really what I want. Although I guess it looks like they have storage, so maybe that's good. Storage, live, laugh, love sign. We have enough money maybe for like a little seedling plant. See, that's nice. I don't know if I should use that or not. We'll have to see. There is some stuff that you can hang on the wall for free, which maybe would be a better use of my money. We can get a marriage certificate, maybe like a marriage certificate and a birth certificate for some reason. The two proudest days of your life. The day that you were born and the day that you got married, I guess. This thing is like pub memorabilia, and that's free. This one actually kind of matches the color scheme that I'm going for, dare I say. So that might be interesting to put up on the wall. I forgot to paint the wall. We have to pay for wallpaper inside in at least a couple of areas. Insufficient funds. Oh, I used an expensive one by accident. Okay, that covers a little bit of it. So we can maybe do like plain white floor inside. That's not really what I've been dreaming of, but it may have to do. We could make the porch one darker, but I think we should just leave it with this. Oh, I have an idea for the upstairs. What if we tried to make it kind of cute and put like a little shingle texture there? Because we could use that on all of the sides maybe, just so we had like some more. Uh-oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. I didn't save. I didn't save a single time. The game crashed and I didn't save a single time. Oh my god, I might start crying. Okay, what do we do? What do I do? I still had like 20 simoleons left. It was like this close to being done though. Oh, this is horrible. This won't even go away. Okay, deep breath, deep breath. Everything's fine. What a way to start the new year. Of course The Sims 4 did this. Of course it did. Because why wouldn't it do this? Yeah, it's not saved. It's completely gone. It's completely gone. Okay, so at this current point in time, I'm debating whether or not I should even post this video on YouTube because I don't know if emotionally I can bring myself to do that again. Like, I don't know if I can do that build another time. But what, do I just say I lost the challenge and the build is lost to history? No gallery upload, because guess what? It's gone. Do we really just accept defeat like that? I don't know. I really liked that build. I was proud of that build. I thought it was turning out really nice. This is like maybe the closest I've ever come to actually crying in a YouTube video. This is gonna push me over the edge. Doesn't help that I was crying earlier. Like, we're already like kind of borderline about to cry today, but like, really? This is maybe a good opportunity to poll the community. Have you also been having a significantly higher number of crashes recently? Because I feel like ever since the new rent pack came out, the game has been significantly more unstable. Like, I have had way more crashes recently than I used to. And that one, it didn't even like warn me. Normally I have more time. Like, normally it like, you know, clocks for a little bit, but this time, no. Just gone. I went to rotate the camera and it was no longer there. I don't think I can bring myself to rebuild that right now. Like, we were almost done. So let's just call it done. Let's just say it's over. If I was like halfway done, I'd probably start again. But at this point, like, I just can't. I can't. So I'm really sorry for this very unsatisfying end to the YouTube video. If you liked this video, I have done a few similar challenges before. They don't usually end in disaster like this. So this doesn't really bode well for 2024, actually. This is not a good sign, but I'm just gonna go. So thank you for watching. I'm really sorry, and I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow, okay? Bye, everybody. Oh my god, this is too much. This is just too much. Why did this have to happen today? Today of all days, I'm not doing well today. Not that it would be fine on another day, but it's like particularly bad today.